Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for once again joining me. Today is not tea time. We're on the road. So, as you can tell, everything's a little bit vibrating here, but bear with me. I want to make a little short video before the weekend. I wanted to say hello. You guys know that I'm a DP, a director of photography. I'm doing an episodic TV program in a couple hours, so we're off to studio to go get that done. But anyways, today I want to talk about something that a lot of you have been questioning, and that is, what mode should I shoot in? Should I shoot in manual? Should I shoot in shutter priority, aperture priority, auto, whatever? I always joke about P is for professional, right? You throw it onto P and basically you just take your shots and you let the camera do all the, let's say, heavy lifting. The problem with that is you don't know if the camera understands what you're trying to capture, or how you want to capture it, or how you want to tell that story. So it's very difficult to do it in auto because you're relying on the camera's AI, its artificial intelligence, to figure out what in the scene it should prioritize. Meaning, how should it set its exposure? What should be in focus? What should be out of focus? And the problem is when you let the computer do all that work, you lose a lot of creativity. Well, that's what a lot of people say, and that's what a lot of people think. And then there's obviously the contrarian view of that, and that basically states, shoot in aperture priority, shoot in shutter priority, and make sure you get the shot. And there's something to be said about that also. So my discussion here with you guys is I want to know what you guys shoot. What are you shooting and for what purpose? And purpose for me is the most important thing. A lot of people will tell you, oh, shoot in manual so that, you have full control over everything. Other people say shoot in aperture priority so you can control the aperture and then let the computer do the rest, whatever the case might be. But the way I look at it is this. Your purpose is how you should set your camera. What are you trying to capture? Obviously, if you're a fast action wildlife type of shooter, well, shooting manual is probably not going to be the best. Why? Because now you're going to have to try to guess where that animal or where that bug or where that motorcycle going around the track is going to be at that specific given time, and you're going to have to set your shutter speed, you're going to set your aperture, you're going to set your ISO, and that's a very difficult task to do. Can you do it? Absolutely, and a lot of great photographers do it. But in that type of situation, I would say shoot shutter priority or aperture priority, and even turn on auto ISO so that the computer can decide if it needs to recalibrate any of it so that you get the shot. Sometimes it's better to get the shot and then later on in post-production have to fix the shot in comparison to not getting the shot at all because it's overexposed or underexposed, and now the darks are plugged and you can't bring them back, or the highlights are blown and there's no more data there for you to bring that back either. So I think there's a purpose for each one of the camera modes, right? So for me, in most situations, since I'm doing a little bit more slow type of shooting when it comes to events, or if I'm doing fashion work, I know where the model is going to be at any given time. Same thing with food photography or product photography. Everything is set. So in that case, for me, ISO, shutter, as well as aperture is going to be set by me specific to that shot. So I can dial it in. Do I want the background blown out? Do I want the foreground blown out? How do I want it to look? All right? And that is what's so important about making those decisions based on that holy trinity. Your ISO, your shutter speed, and your aperture. That's what gives you full control. As a teacher, I personally have all of my students in the past shoot black and white film on a fully manual camera, like my SRT 102. Why do I do that? Because what happens is it gives them a time to learn what the different things do. What does your film speed or ISO, what does it do? How does it relate and correlate with your aperture and your shutter? And that is so mission critical going forward with photography or videography. Like right now, we're going to be shooting video, but it's all set to manual. That includes autofocus and everything. So we dial in. What do we want the Kelvin to look like? What is that color going to be? so that later on in post-production, when we color grade, we have a baseline for all the cameras. We dial it in. What is the exposure going to be? Dialed in. What aperture are all the cameras going to be shooting at? It makes continuity between all of the shots. So, obviously, manual makes more sense. Period. End of story. But in certain situations, it's not. So for me, I personally think that you should learn how to shoot manual, all right? If you find professionals out there that say, oh, you must shoot manual because it gives you full control over everything, well, the bottom line to that is, yes, it does. But in not every situation, you need full control over everything, nor do you want it. So, anyways, a little bit of a rant today. I want to know your thoughts. What do you normally shoot in? Are you shooting in shutter priority, shooting in auto, you shooting in aperture priority? What are you shooting in? I want to hear from you. I want to know your thoughts. And did you learn how to shoot in manual mode? Do you understand it? Do you understand that your exposure or what your image looks like or what your video looks like is directly related to your ISO, your shutter speed, as well as your aperture? And being able to dial them in exactly how you need them is very powerful. And then later on, if you do use aperture priority or if you're using shutter priority, you will then be able to know how to compensate appropriately. All too often I find people ask me questions about aperture priority and, oh, I'm shooting in aperture priority, but for some reason I can't bring it back through my compensation to a point where things are bright enough. Well, yeah, because at that point there's no more room to bring that back and you need to change your ISO most likely, if not your shutter speed. So once again, understanding the Holy Trinity, aperture, shutter speed, as well as ISO, and how they work together will make you a better photographer, but you do not necessarily have to shoot in manual mode all the time. And in many cases, it's not necessarily better to shoot in manual mode. Use aperture priority or shutter priority. But once again, understanding the bases gives you a better ability to later on change things or make adjustments and make adjustments appropriately. So no manual, but don't be afraid to also shoot in aperture priority or shutter priority. Depends on your purpose. That's my personal opinion. Once again, as always, you want to take everyone's advice with a grain of salt or sometimes a pound of salt. Take what resonates with you and throw all the rest away. That's really the best thing that you can do. So that's it, guys. The weather's getting a little bit bad here on the road, so I need to concentrate on what I'm doing. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Many blessings to you and your family. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon over here so when I go live or when a new video comes out, you'll be notified of it immediately. That's it. I'm out of here. Have a great weekend. Take care, guys.